In the year 2011, American Horror Story premiered on FX and quickly became one of the most talked about horror television shows ever. In the years to follow, Asylum, Coven, and Freak Show would further cement American Horror Story's status as the horror show to watch. Now in 2024, what happened? Hey, what is up everybody? It's Nick here from the Lost River Drive-In, and today I'm going to switch things up a little bit. I have been asked many times while doing this channel, what are some of my favorite TV shows of all time? And I've never really talked about that. Well, today I want to dedicate a video to one specific show that has always been near and dear to my heart, and ask a question, what happened to that show? If you guys remember living through the 2010s, you remember American Horror Story. Even if you didn't watch cable, everybody knew this show. They knew of this show. My mom never watched a frame of this show, but she was aware that it existed. It was incredibly popular. The first season that came out in 2011, Murder House, changed the world for me. I had never really been a regular series watcher at that time. I was a teenager, I was about to graduate high school, and I was really interested in this. I remember seeing the promotional material for this and going, you know what, I'm going to give that a chance. And specifically, seeing the guy in the rubber suit. And after watching the first episode, I was hooked immediately. And it got widely praised by critics and fans alike, and the ratings were huge for this. So naturally, when Asylum came out, everybody was pretty much on board. They couldn't wait to see what was coming next. And I remember being shocked myself, going, whoa, it's like all the same actors, but this is a totally different story? What? I was confused by that. At the time, I guess I really hadn't even thought about what an anthology was, even though I had seen anthologies up to that point. I watched Asylum from day one when it premiered, and I was hooked. Coven would come, and that would really change everything for this show. While it had been popular up to that point, Coven broke down any barriers that might have existed. This was huge in pop culture. You would see all over social media people talking about American Horror Story Coven. And from that point forward, there was a few year stretch where American Horror Story truly was probably one of the most watched television shows at the time. You would have Freak Show and Hotel, which saw Lady Gaga coming in and making her acting debut, and she was actually really good in it. And then things started to change. For the first 5 years of the show, FX had seen some of their best ratings, and all of these seasons were pretty widely praised by critics and fans alike. This was a goldmine. So they were going to keep going back to Ryan Murphy and Brad Falchuk to try to get more and more American Horror Story. And then came Roanoke, which was really when the divide began. Roanoke was incredibly divisive. I know there's a lot of people that love that season. It happens to be my absolute least favorite season. I find it to be cringe, but I can see what people mean when they say they like it. I understand exactly what they were tackling with Roanoke, but it completely fell flat for me. From that point forward, American Horror Story would see choppy waters. They would come back with season 7, which was Cult, which would address politics, specifically American politics. And that was risky because you're going to alienate some and you're going to make others happy. You almost don't want to mix the two sometimes, but they did. Now, the season got pretty good reviews, but it definitely alienated some more people even further. Then came Apocalypse, and Apocalypse was the season that was going to bring everybody back in, right? We were going to have our American Horror Story endgame. We were going to bring back Murder House, and we were going to bring back Coven, and we were going to merge it all together. Now, it worked. Apocalypse was pretty well regarded by fans, and it actually saw an increase in viewership. The show would never reach those heights again. Season 9 would come, and that would be 1984, and it was being billed as a camp slasher, but it was definitely more than that once you got to actually watching it. I liked it. I thought it was good fun, but this marked a turn for the series. This is when a lot of the principal actors weren't coming back to play roles in American Horror Story. Actors and actresses we had seen for pretty much 8 seasons running. A lot of them were absent from 1984. Then Double Feature would come, and it would see a few of them return, namely Sarah Paulson. But sadly, it ended up being a complete train wreck. The first half of Double Feature was interesting. I would have welcomed more of that story. But it's abruptly cut off, and then we get a second half of the season that is truly unwatchable. It is absolutely terrible. It is cringeworthy at best, and that's being polite. It sucks. And it soured so many people's opinion on American Horror Story, the entire season as a whole, even though the first half was quite good. Then came New York City, or NYC as it was billed. And this was much more a serial killer story. This wasn't really American Horror Story. I've always maintained that as a drama, this is a really good limited series. But it's not American Horror Story. It doesn't feel like American Horror Story. It doesn't look like American Horror Story. It doesn't play like American Horror Story. And then we had the most recent season, which was Delicate, which was absolute god-awful gutter trash. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And it's not because of Kim Kardashian. Even though I do not like her at all, she was actually solid. I cannot lie, she was solid here. But my God, the fall from grace for American Horror Story. And why? What happened? What created this? Well, first, I think it's important to dissect what made American Horror Story so successful in the first place. You had a lot of great actors. You had well-written roles. You had beautiful set designs and environments. You had truly visceral imagery and stuff that really stuck out to you. I think of things from like Hotel and Freak Show and Asylum. Those come to mind. You had arcs and storylines and subplots throughout these seasons that just tantalized you. Whether it be Tate and Violet in Murder House, whether it be what happened to Mary Eunice in Asylum, or what happened to Fiona in Coven. There's so much to really latch onto. There was a lot of meat on the bone there. Where American Horror Story began to go wrong was when they started to lose a lot of those actors. Season 4 would mark the end for Jessica Lange. Now, season 5 had a nice fill-in with Lady Gaga, and she took control of American Horror Story at that point, and she was great in it. But she was also supported by Evan Peters, Sarah Paulson, a lot of the same people we'd seen for the first 4 years. So while we noticed the absence of Jessica Lange, it was nowhere near as jarring as it could have been. But then as the seasons went on, you started to lose some of those actors. You lost Evan Peters, you lost Sarah Paulson, you lost Emma Roberts. You lost Taissa Farmiga. You lost a bunch of them as the years went on till it got to the point where you didn't even really recognize the show anymore. Now, they would come back here and there. Emma Roberts would come back for 1984, and then she would come back for Delicate. But it really was like everybody, this entire band we had, this team we had, was splitting up. Everybody was graduating and moving away. And once you lost a lot of those people, you lost the magic. And the further proof of that is Apocalypse. Because at times, season 8 can have some wonky moments with the writing. But you almost don't notice it as much because it feels like a family reunion. You're getting so many of these people back. Even Connie Britton from season 1. So many great characters and those actors that played those iconic characters back into one season. It really was an event, and you just kind of feel at home. These places are familiar and these people are familiar. But again, once you get into 1984 and onward, it's just almost unrecognizable. But it's not just as simple as that. The writing took a hit here. Now, I am somebody that has championed Ryan Murphy, or at least I did for years, but I don't know where his head is at. Because what American Horror Story has become is not what American Horror Story ever was. See, American Horror Story had elements of drama, absolutely. But there was a true, no pun intended, horror permeating the entire series. Every episode of every season, there was an interesting subplot. There was an interesting character development. There was a horrific event. That was lost in the later seasons. Like I said, 1984 being an exception because it's truly a fun season, but it's still not as deep or as impactful as the earlier seasons. But Double Feature, NYC, Delicate, they're just boring. It is talking upon talking upon talking in environments that don't feel like an American Horror Story environment, with characters that you don't really care about, played by actors that you don't really know and you have no emotional attachment to. Part of me thinks that when a lot of these principal actors left American Horror Story, Ryan Murphy checked out too. And that's unfortunate because the show was still getting good ratings, but that was based off of the goodwill that Ryan Murphy had built up over years. Now he's using that goodwill to get people to return every year for these seasons that just aren't very good. The heart and soul of American Horror Story was always people like Evan Peters and Jessica Lange. I felt like if you had either one of them, you were gonna be okay. You were gonna find your way through it. I would even say Sarah Paulson belongs in that discussion as well. And once they were gone, it just didn't feel like American Horror Story anymore. Losing Jessica Lange was a big deal, but we had other people. Now we don't have any of them. So I feel like its soul is just gone. It's almost like Ryan Murphy's running out the clock of seasons that FX has greenlit and ordered, which will be ending with the next season, whatever that might be. And it's really unfortunate because this kind of fall from grace, sadly, we see it happen a lot with long-running series that are super successful. I'm currently in the process of re-watching American Horror Story, but I'm not re-watching all of it. I'm re-watching the seasons I liked. And I can tell you that right now I'm in Apocalypse, and I'm really enjoying it because I'm loving going back to Murder House and Coven and just seeing these people again and seeing these environments again. That's what American Horror Story was. It was kind of like a family. I don't know. So as of right now, there is one final season that is greenlit. Now, we don't know that that's going to be the final season, but there's only one left that's been ordered by FX. What do you do? How do you course correct? Or if you're not going to continue from here, how do you end it? Well, it's very simple. Ryan Murphy's got to get the band back together. Everybody that's willing to come back needs to come back. Now, it's publicly known that Evan Peters left American Horror Story. He took a break because a lot of the roles that he was cast in for American Horror Story, he said were very demanding and they really kind of impacted his mental health. And makes sense because he's usually playing some kind of monstrous individual. So you got to go back to those people. You got to bring Evan back. You've got to bring Sarah back. You've got to bring Emma back. You've got to bring people that have been there from the beginning. I would love Jessica Lange. Would love to bring her back. I do not see a snowball's chance in hell of that happening. Simply because, one, she is quite older now. And two, I don't think she'd want to come back to a sinking ship. Because at this point, it seems like the ratings are coming from the fans that have been there from the beginning. And we're doing it out of loyalty, begrudgingly. Seeing the conversation when a new episode's about to drop about, oh my God, like, hopefully this isn't boring. Hopefully this isn't totally cringeworthy. It's really disheartening because this show used to take social media by storm. And now, barely even a whisper comes out about this show anymore. So you've got to bring those people back. You have to bring everybody back, or as many as you can. You also need to revisit an earlier storyline. Ryan Murphy hinted at, I believe a couple months ago, that we would see the Coven again at some point. I feel like he was teasing that on purpose because clearly the ratings haven't been there and the interest just isn't there for the series anymore. I feel like he knows it needs to get back on track, and what better way to do that than to revisit an old storyline. So not only do you bring the actors back, but you bring their old characters back, some of the more popular characters, and we need to dig into a previous storyline. But most importantly, you need to care. Bring the passion back. Make the show exciting. It's so boring and bland now. It is like, I saw somebody explain Delicate as, it's pretty much the same thing every episode with like 5 minutes of difference in each episode. And I was like, yeah, it's pretty much the same sequences, the same conversations. Oh, there's a little bit different there for about 5 minutes, and then everything else is the same. It's boring. It's predictable. It's rote. You need to have that passion again. And I know that Ryan Murphy has kind of taken a back seat in most recent seasons, and he's just been really like an executive producer and no longer the showrunner. But I feel like his passion for the project could come back if he brought a lot of the players back into the project. And maybe that's what the show needs. But I think that those are really the three most important things that you need to make this successful again, to make people care, and to make what could be the final season even worth watching. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if we get a cast listing and announcement of a new season and it's nobody I know or care about, and it's not revisiting any kind of storyline that we love and hold near and dear to our hearts, I'm not going to watch. I'm not interested. I don't care anymore. What American Horror Story has become is not what American Horror Story ever was. Ryan Murphy is the only person that can fix that. Get to work. So if you guys couldn't tell, American Horror Story is a series that I am very, very passionate about, and I have been for a really long time. The show has always meant so much to me, and I've hated to see where it's ended up in recent years. Like I said, 1984 was fun, but it wasn't really American Horror Story. It was fun for what it was. NYC was a good drama, but it was not good at all for American Horror Story. Double Feature was a slap in the face to the fan base, and Delicate, it was like you just desecrated my grandmother's grave. Like, I don't know if I can even forgive you for that. But I want to hear what you guys think down below in the comment section. Let's talk about American Horror Story. Tell me about some of your favorite memories. Tell me what you think of the series now. And tell me what you want to see moving forward and what could be the final season for the show ever. Comment it all down below in the comment section. Make sure to leave a like in the video. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. This is Nick at the Lost River Drive-In, and I'm pulling out.